They were born in the pause between certainty and chaos. A generation raised while the world quietly rewired itself. When rules stopped making sense, and trust became something you earned, not something you were given. Gen X learned to read the room before speaking, to stand alone without feeling empty, and to survive without asking the world for permission. Their strength doesn't shout. It hums, steady, calm, unshakable. And if you've ever wondered why this generation feels emotionally distant yet mentally powerful, psychology has an answer. Psychology says this isn't a weakness. It's actually a very rare, high-value mindset trait. Most people misunderstand Gen X entirely. They're called detached, emotionally unavailable, or too independent. Society mistakes their silence for coldness and their caution for pessimism. But psychology tells us this isn't emotional damage, it's emotional refinement. Gen X grew up during shifting economies, changing family structures, and fading social guarantees. Research shows that people raised during unstable transitions develop stronger internal control systems. What looks like emotional distance is actually emotional discipline. What seems like mistrust is informed awareness. One of the strongest traits of Gen X is emotional self-reliance. They don't outsource their stability to other people. According to attachment theory, individuals who experience early unpredictability often develop internal emotional regulation. Imagine learning to carry your own shelter, instead of waiting for the weather to be kind. This makes Gen X calm under pressure and difficult to emotionally manipulate. Another defining trait is realistic thinking. Gen X doesn't fall in love with promises. They watch patterns. Cognitive psychology explains this through experiential conditioning. The brain prioritizes lived outcomes over ideal narratives, like someone who's seen behind the curtain too many times to be impressed by the show. They value truth over comfort. This realism protects them from disappointment and false hope. Gen X also has an unusually high tolerance for solitude. They don't fear being alone with their thoughts. Studies on metacognition show that people who spend more time in internal reflection develop stronger identity clarity. Think of a lighthouse that stands alone, not because it's isolated, but because it's meant to guide. Solitude isn't absence for them, it's alignment. Another overlooked trait is selective loyalty. Gen X doesn't attach easily, but when they do, it's intentional. Social exchange theory explains this as value-based commitment. Relationships are chosen consciously, not emotionally rushed. Picture someone who doesn't make grand promises, but never disappears when things get difficult. Their loyalty is quiet, rare, and deeply earned. Gen X also carries emotional endurance that others mistake for numbness. Growing up during constant change trained their nervous systems to adapt. Stress inoculation theory shows that repeated moderate stress can strengthen long-term resilience, like metal tempered by fire. They don't collapse under pressure. They hold their shape. And finally, there is their deep sense of inner freedom. Gen X doesn't chase validation from trends, algorithms, or crowds. Self-determination theory shows that autonomy-driven individuals experience greater psychological well-being. They move through life like someone who knows which opinions matter and which ones don't. Their freedom isn't rebellious. It's settled. There is a quiet dignity in this generation, a strength that feels like standing firm while the world rushes past. Gen X learned how to stay grounded when nothing else was. They learned how to survive without becoming bitter, how to adapt without losing themselves, how to carry wisdom without needing applause. They are proof that strength doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. If this felt personal, it's because it is. You weren't distant. You were self-contained. You weren't cold. You were careful. You weren't behind. You were building depth. Comment "I relate," or tell me which trait hit you the hardest. And if you want more psychology that finally speaks your language, subscribe and turn on the bell, because minds like yours deserve to be understood.